What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today again we're gonna be talking about two more subjects. We're gonna be talking about pre-algebra and world history. So we'll start off first with pre-algebra. So today we'll be talking about regrouping numbers and rounding to the nearest hundred and nearest thousand. So rounding to the nearest hundred and nearest thousand is fairly simple. I'll give you a number, say. So for the nearest hundred, we'll do 50,792. So if you could find out what number is in the hundreds place, so in this case you have the number 7 in the hundreds place, the digit to the right of that, which would be the tens place, is the one you're going to be concerned about its value, because depending on its value, you'll round up or down. Like we talked about before, if it's 5 or above, then you would round up, but if it's 4 and below, then you round down. In this case, it is 792, so 9 tens, so it's above 5, it's a 9. So in this case, you would round up to 50,800 if you're rounding to the nearest hundred. Now, to the nearest thousand, we'll say, okay, the number 423,275. So if you're looking at this number, you're looking at the thousands place, and in this case the thousands place is the 3. So you're going to look for the digit to the right of that, and that is going to be 275. That it's 200, so it's less than 5. So in this case you would round down to 423,000. That is your nearest thousand. 100,000 is kind of the same thing. You just look at the number in the 10,000s. So we'll just round the same number, 423,275, to the nearest 100,000. So you have 400,000, and the digit to the right of that is 2,000, 20,000. So it's less than 5, so in this case you would round down. Last one we're going to do is talk about, it's going to be regrouping numbers. So I'll give you a number 675, and we're going to regroup that, which is basically, and in essence, give each of the hundreds, tens, and ones in this breakdown a different value where it still equals the same thing. You'll understand what I mean in a minute. So 675 can also be written as 6 hundreds, 7 tens, and 5 ones. But you could take values away from different, like, you could take values away from the 600, the 70, or the 5 and add it to different ones. So in this case, you take 100 from the 500, add it to the 170, and then you get 500 plus 170 plus 5. But in this case, we want to give the 5 some love too, so we're going to take 10 away from 70 and give it to 5. So in this case, we're going to have 500 plus 160 plus 15. And in this case, if you count out your numbers, 500 plus 160 plus 15, you still should get you still get the same thing. So in essence, like, when you regroup numbers, you're just breaking them down, but you're still writing them out where they still get the same values. So I'll come up with one. We'll do like an easier one. We'll do 475. Can also be written as 400 plus 7 tens plus 5 ones. But you can also take away different values from different, like, digits. Like, you could take 100 away from you could take 100 away from the 400 and add it to the and you can have 300s plus 17 tens plus 5 ones, in this case, because 17 tens is just equal to 170, and we did 475, so you have 300 plus 17 tens plus 5 ones. So in this case, you still have 475. It's just written in a different way. We're going to move on to the next subject, which is going to be history. So in history, we're going to be evaluating more on the frames we talked about last time, the community frame and the network frame and the production frame, where they started and basically how they're used. So we'll start off first with the community frame. So the community frame began back in Era 2, which is the era that humans first started to come around and interact with one another, kind of. So in Era 2, each individual worked and had their own jobs which caused them to grow eventually into large states and cities. They had their own jobs in their communities, which is why it's the community frame. But they had their own jobs, which caused them to grow into bigger states and empires eventually. So that's the large communities actually are empires, and empires started to pop up more around Era 3, which was over 8,000 years ago. So next frame we'll talk about is the networks frame. So the networks frame is the relationship or interactions between different places. Could be good and bad interactions. An example of good interaction would be trade, and an example of bad interaction would be disease. So if you look at the very first interaction between Europe and Asia, between Mesoamerica, it was the Columbian Exchange. So in the Columbian Exchange, we exchanged. There's a massive trade, but we didn't only trade oxen and cows and all that. We traded very bad diseases too. So that's also that is an example of good and bad interaction. Good being the trade and the gain of resources, and the bad being the disease. So the last production frame we're going to talk about is the production and distribution frame. So the materials for production began to come around in Era 1 when the Earth was formed. These materials can be like carbon, wood, gold, anything you can think of that you look around is used for something. Okay, so in Era 2, humans began to use these materials for for trade and for production. They used like wood and straw to construct their houses, and they would trade different items of value, like could be weapons or food or anything like that. And eventually this expanded. The production and distribution eventually expanded onto trade we have now and factories that we have now that produce these goods that we make. So that will pretty much do for this video. Thank you so much for watching. God bless, and I will talk to you guys all next time. See you.